What's going on, everyone? This is Josh Phillips. I am doing just a bit of a quick YouTube post here. There's been a few things been going on with some friends, some students of mine in the last month or so, and I just wanted to go ahead and put together this video, and maybe it'll give people a little bit of direction when it comes to some of the advice I give to students, specifically male students of mine who feel a little bit lost, I guess, sort of in their early to mid 20s, trying to figure things out. They don't necessarily have it all figured out yet. So, this is just what I do, right? And I've read a lot of the literature. I've talked to lots of other guys. I think that this is useful stuff. So, this is advice for guys when you need to talk to someone. And I'm talking about personal issues. I'm not talking about politics. I'm not talking about sports. I'm not talking about the general, nonsense that guys talk about a lot, which I think is fun, right? I think joking around is great, and that's how 98% of my male-to-male conversations go. It's a lot of joking around with each other in very extreme, somewhat inappropriate fashion at sometimes. But it's great. That's how guys communicate. But this is for when you need to talk about personal things. Now, here's where we'll start. Some people might go to therapy. I'm not a big fan of therapy. I've done it a couple of times. I didn't get much out of it. I think for me personally, and I think for a lot of other guys, I think goal setting and accomplishing goals as far as physical labor, I think that's far more productive for me when it comes to feeling a sense of accomplishment or feeling a sense of groundedness in the world. So I think a better use of one's time, if you don't want to go to therapy, is going to the gym every day. That works for me. Setting physical goals, going to the gym, doing manual labor around the house, fixing things around the house, doing yard work around the house, getting a little wood shop in the garage, making things. I think that is good for day-to-day consistent habit building. I think that those things work a lot better than maybe weekly therapy sessions. So I know that is good for me. So if you need some sort of weekly thing to do, I think going to the gym and lifting heavy weights every day is huge for just mental health. Now, that's my sort of day-to-day weekly habit to keep my mental health in check. However, there are times when guys need to talk about personal issues. They do need to talk, right? They can't just hide behind a bench press forever. So here's a couple things. Generally speaking, all right, men have zero personal relationships with other men, right? These are statistics. You can look them up. When it comes to close, personal, intimate relationships where you actually talk about personal issues, generally speaking, most men have zero, which is horrifying when you think about that statistic. All right. So an example of this that's cited pretty often, and it's repeated a lot in the literature. It's shown to be a reliable statistic, is that women tend to do better during and after a divorce than men. And part of the reason, a lot of people say the driving reason, is because women have approximately 6 to 7 personal friends. All right, I misspelled it here, but you can go with me. They have 6 to 7 personal friends that they talk to, that they connect with, that they hang out with, that they stay the night over at their house. They go to brunch, those sorts of things. So women tend to do better during and after a divorce than men do. On average, in these relationships, men have one close personal friend, and that happens to be the now ex-wife. So when it comes to marital situations, if you say, who's your best friend, men will usually say it's my wife. Women will mention, high school friends that they have, or a college roommate, or a former sorority sister, or whatever, right? So that's not good, right? If the only person that a man has to talk to during a divorce is his ex-wife with regard to processing how he's feeling about it, it's obviously not going to go anywhere helpful. So in the aftermath of a divorce, for instance, men tend to put on a little bit of weight, they get depressed, they start spending frivolously. They usually spiral down into bad habits because they don't have a support system around them the same way that women do. So both men and women are affected. I'm not saying that women are it's easy for them. That they're both affected, but as far as getting out of it quicker and in a less damaged way, women tend to do better because they have a personal support system around them. All right. So men, guys, all right, we need to be intentional when it comes to conversations and having conversations about personal issues. All right. So instead of going to therapy, which again, I've tried it a couple times, I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. It seems like a waste of time for me. If it works for you, great, go and do it. But again, for me, a weekly nice habit thing that keeps me mentally sane is going to the gym and accomplishing, physical goals. Going and exhausting myself at the gym. Just it's not just an exhaustion thing, but it's also like, oh, like I'm lifting more weights than I did last week. I feel a sense of accomplishment. I feel like I'm moving forward, right? So that helps. That helps me, but that doesn't mean that I get to completely avoid personal conversations the rest of my life. So what I do, right? So twice a year, my best friend and I, right? So this is if we say if I was to say like how many close relationships I have one personal best friend who I talk with about with like personal, close, intimate details of my life with, right? Twice a year, me and my best friend, we go to this cabin that's about 2 hours north of Philadelphia, up in the Poconos. And we go there about twice a year for about a 3-day weekend. So we usually leave on like a Friday afternoon and we come back on a Sunday evening. All right. The entire time we're there, we're up in this cabin in the middle of the woods, just steak, veggies, wine, and I bring my dog with me. All right. And that's it. And the entire time we just kind of hang out in this very small one-room loft cabin. Out the back door are woods. We can run around with the dog back there. Porch, we can, if it's warm out, we sit out there in like our long underwear or sit out in a towel, whatever. It's just this very sort of serene, peaceful place where we have a rule where we say no phone, no internet, completely disconnected, just him and me and my dog, eating steak, cooking vegetables, drinking wine, and talking about life, right? And it's twice a year. One thing that we started doing after the first time we went up there is we just started asking each other very deep questions, and both of us are in our mid-30s. So we just have like these very deep questions that we ask each other, and the rule is that you have to answer my questions and I have to answer your questions, and we go back and forth like this for 3 days, and they can get deep at some point. So just some of the examples of the questions we'll ask each other are things like, what is your biggest regret in life? And we'll list, like, we'll be very open and honest about what some of the regrets are that we have with regard to personal relationships or professional, whatever, or financial decisions that we've made, or a lot, right? We lay a lot on the table. We ask about processing former relationships that we've had, former relationships with women that didn't work out, right? We'll ask each other about those, I know a few years ago you broke up with so and so, like we never really talked about it. Like I need you need to tell me like how are you doing with that? Like I need to know, how it's going. And that's just how it works for 3 days. We talk about future plans. Example here is what do you have? What do you feel like you have to accomplish by the time you're 40, so you don't feel like a loser, right? So we're asking each other questions about sort of future predictions for the next 3 to 5 years as far as what it is that we really want to dig into for the next few months to try to get back on the track. If we feel like we've lost a little bit of direction, as far as if we feel like we've gotten in a rut, either professionally, creatively, what have you, it's like we try to get each other back on track with, again, it could be creative goals, writing goals. My friend, he's an artist, so artistic goals, traveling, personal relationships, marriage, family, whatever. Neither one of us are married or have kids yet, but we talk about these things. And then we get into questions about like how relationships are with our families. So these are the sort of, dense questions we ask each other. We stay away from like sports and politics. We don't have, phone and internet again at the cabin, but these are things that we do intentionally. We kind of fell backwards into it about 5 years ago. We sort of like just had a chance to kind of travel and go up to a cabin. And then we just sort of fell into asking each other. It started off very comically. just asking each other kind of stupid questions, and then they got more and more, they got deeper. And with that, I think we just sort of fell into that process of, this is something that is important. Let's ask each other, deeper questions, and it seems to be something that we both really like and we find value in. So that's my advice for guys when you need to go and talk to people. All right. I think you need to find a couple of close guy friends. I think most of your relationship can be about sports and politics and all the stupid, inappropriate things that guys say to each other and make fun of each other about. But I do think that, a couple times a year, it is important to set aside intentional moments for asking questions of one another with regard to personal life situations. So if that's useful, I hope you can have a little value in this exercise. I hope you find a couple of close friends that you can talk to and lean on during difficult moments. And the best way to do that is to find those guys now instead of when those difficult moments come up, when they're right in front of your face. So make this a little bit of a practice for yourself every few months. Get together with some guys, or maybe just one guy. I just have one guy. All right. Talk about these personal things that's going on in your life. And yeah, best of luck to you.